Recently, Lee Elemental has challenged the Big Bang model again and questioned the reliability of the Big Bang. Is anyone curious? The Big Bang model was established 120 years ago. Why do scientists always have to prove? Denial of the Big Bang. What are they trying to prove? Obsessed with the origin of the universe. What does it mean to us? In the 1920s, after discovering that our universe is expanding, Belgian cosmologist Georges Lemaître speculated that, what if the universe got bigger and cooler? He used to be smaller and hotter. All the energy is squeezed into one smaller and smaller area. The logical conclusion to this is, if you rewind the universe, from the very beginning, all the energy in the universe exists at a point in space. This starting point will be infinitely hot and dense. However, it is this infinity that leads to ambiguity. Einstein's theory of relativity can be used to predict motion of objects under the influence of attractive forces. But when you start to add wireless into it, there's no equation that describes the universe very well. What happened in the first moments of origin? Or what caused the universe to start expanding under an infinitely hot and dense starting point? We have no way of knowing that it may have been sent before him. What happened? Any evidence before that? Or signals will be created by the universe, swallowed by a hot incinerator. He somehow happened. That's all we can be sure of. At the very beginning of the universe, changes in temperature and density make matter. It's starting to form. After 1 second, the temperature of the universe has dropped to 100 billion degrees Celsius, although still very hot. But it's enough for matter to start forming. After 99 seconds, the universe cooled to 1 trillion degrees Celsius. Powerful forces come into play. Protons and neutrons start to combine, form light and knife. Bronze and copper. Flavor is the most common element in the universe. But green is not the only harm. 2 protons were created very quickly. Calculated by mass, the matter in the early universe was almost 76% light. 24% is harmful. However, it is very rare that the other proton will merge with the other 2 protons. Identical digits in formation make the number of protons in these atoms 3. Calculated by mass, this is only 0.000000007% in the early universe. But that's where the mystery comes from. By examining spectral data from stars, we can evaluate the distribution of elements in the universe. What we see is roughly in line with predictions. Our sun is 71% by mass. 27% is harmful to 20% other heavy elements. And these ratios are competitive throughout the universe. This is the hot Big Bang model and our equations. Correct favorable evidence. And yet, we were wrong about reason. Although the predictions are indeed low, but the predicted value, it's actually 3 times higher than what we've seen. In other words, when we study the spectra of primitive stars, I didn't see the content we should have seen. There are more mysteries around. Lee key is what we tend to do early, the same number seen in the universe. This means that the element sum of a plum has 3 qualities: Z and 4 Chinese characters. But there's another kind of isometric, called Li Liu, one less neutron, should be more unstable than its counterpart, less common, 2 out of every 100,000 atoms. Although the total amount in the universe is too low, but the ratio of Li 6 to Li 7 is too high. Li Liu was more likely than it should have been in the early universe. There are 1,000 times more of them. So this pair of hot explosions, what does the model mean? Our most trusted theory about the origin of the universe. Do you really need to go back to the drawing board? Not necessarily 2 possibilities. One involves rewriting the Big Bang theory as we know it. But there is another explanation. When confronted with something like this, one of the following 2 things must be satisfied. Either our observations are wrong, either our model is wrong. It's hard to discard the hot Big Bang model entirely. Nothing else can. Very good explanation of the universe, the presence of background radiation, or hydrogen as we see in the universe, the amount of harm. Those elements are almost as hot as the Big Bang. The prediction is exactly the same. This seems so perfect. It can't be a coincidence. That is to say, scientists are increasingly unsure about this model because he can't stand. Stephen Hawking once is that the universe started from a beginning, the main advocate of the beginning, but then changed his mind. In his book, A Brief History of Time, so he says, the work of Roger Penrose and I is generally accepted. Now, almost everyone assumes that the universe began with the Big Bang. The starting point, perhaps ironically, is that I changed my mind, now trying to convince other physicists. In fact, the universe began without a beginning, as we shall see later. Once quantum effects are taken into account, it will disappear. These quantum effects are too complex. It cannot be discussed in this video. And that doesn't necessarily solve the problem, even if true. But he did emphasize the cosmic city, a constant in physics and cosmology, branch of development. A full explanation of him has yet to be found. Perhaps the model will one day be adjusted in such a way. Let's do it. The problem is gone. Even the broad strokes of the theory remain. Rangley's puzzle fits well with King He-Wei. Another option. The problem is our observation. And there's probably some reason for that. Due to the small content under discussion. So it's very difficult, once you look back, long to see the existence of interstellar rings. Exact quantity. Probe interstellar. The only way to make mass is to let light through. It then looks at which lines in the spectrometer. Occlusion. This can tell scientists what elements might make up a particular nebula or dust cloud, but it's getting harder the further the goal. Finally, it's completely impossible to get an exact estimate. Instead, scientists can only focus on the primitive spectrogram of a star. These spectrograms do not necessarily represent the entire universe at that time. Stars are a special case. What's happening inside could change that. The amount of courtesy that exists transforms the courtesy into something else. It also increased the number of rituals, although it is difficult to guess what the process might be. If our observations can be improved, and we can better measure the whole morning. Content in the universe. Maybe the numbers will find their way back into the queue. Maybe the problem didn't exist in the first place. Ultimately, how the universe came into being The answer is never complete until all available data and theoretical predictions, it doesn't matter, or some other problematic element in the universe. For example, there is too much gold outside. All of these numbers have to be consistent. About the universe, much remains to be learned about its origins. I do think how incredible we are, able to learn and infer events that took place billions of years ago. Matter itself has been properly formed, using only our telescopes and our minds. That picture, how did it all start? The grand vision is waiting to be assembled. However, how did the universe form? It is based on a foundation of order, allowing us to unlock its principles, sort out its mysteries, and rebuild the configuration of its various parts. One day, I am confident that we will also solve the problem, while waiting for the answer to our ultimate origin. Some issues are too important, can't be without an answer. In fact, science is the search for origin, and old Marv as an astronomer. Can't wait to see this puzzle finally finished. The day it became